Hey guys, it is August the 4th, 2025, and I hope everybody's been having a wonderful day so far today. It is a rainy day here in South Carolina, so I'm not going to be sitting down there filming today. I decided to just come up here on the front porch and film today's video. I hope everybody's been having a great day so far today and had a great weekend this past weekend as well. What I wanted to talk about today is a really simple video. I was just thinking about this just a few minutes ago. I was about to come out here and actually discuss something else. And while I was getting my stuff together to come outside and film today's video, I started thinking to myself about how, how we get faced with these challenges all the time when we're in sobriety, and they just come out of nowhere a lot of the time. You just don't know when it's going to happen. You try to do everything that you can to not encounter these problems, but they just seem to pop up all the time, and it's when you least expect it. You go over to your family's house, or for a dinner, or you go over to a friend's house, or you go to a work function and you don't think there's going to be alcohol or a substance there or whatever it is, and all of a sudden there it is right there in front of you, and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And that's those times that we get placed with these decisions that are pivotal moments in our life. So many times I chose to go the other direction, and I was sober for any amount of time. Let's say I'd been sober for a week, and a week later, here comes one of my neighbors and they want to have a beer with me, and right then I had that decision to make, and I always chose to go drink. Staying sober. And I guess in reality, I guess that's not true, because, I guess I was placed with a lot of decisions within that week time frame that I'd been sober, and I chose each one of those times to stay sober, because I know for a fact that there were times that alcohol was placed in front of me, especially when I was in the restaurant industry. I'm sure there were times that someone asked me to have a drink with them, or, somebody asked me to taste this wine or whatever it was, and like I said, alcohol was in front of me all the time when I was in the restaurant industry. So, I made those decisions to stay sober. That's a tongue twister right there. And I did it multiple times. But at some point, I made that decision, that pivotal decision, to where I was going to have a drink. And then there was no coming back from it at that point. There was never a time that I was able to get sober, stay sober for any length of time, relapse, and then get back on the wagon. It took months, years, whatever. I just never picked myself right back up and said, okay, I screwed up. I'm going to pick myself back up and I'm just going to try again. It was a mistake. Because every single time that I did that, I told myself, well, I did it this time, so I'm just going to drink. I'm going to drink for the rest of the day, and then it would become, I'm going to just drink today, because the next day I would go to work, I would be hungover, and the only thing that ever fixed my hangover was the hair of the dog. And there I was, right back in the trap all over again. That cycle, it starts right back up all over again. And then, like I said, days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years, and we don't even remember the last time that we had any amount of sobriety. We've forgotten, unless you wrote it down or something like that, but we just forget. It goes on for so long sometimes. And like I said, that's what I wanted to talk about today, because, once again, we get placed in these positions where we have to make a decision daily almost. When you are driving to work in the morning, it's easy. You could stop at the gas station and pick up a bottle, have a couple drinks before you go to work, have a drink before you go to work. Or you could leave on your lunch break and, run to the liquor store or run to a bar and have a cocktail there, or go see your dealer and get whatever it is that you prefer. You know, we could go do these things, and it could happen throughout our day. You know, we could sneak off. We could stop on our way home from work. You know, those are the times too when it gets really difficult, when you're on your way home from work, especially if you're the type of person who, you know, you drank every single day, especially at nighttime, and you would stop by the store on your way home and pick up a bottle. You know, if that was like your daily routine, something that you did every single day was stop by the store and pick up a bottle, you know, you get a habit. And not only is it now that you're missing the alcohol, but you're missing the habit. You're missing the stopping by the store. Because like I said, it becomes routine. You know, it gets worked into our day. It's like waking up in the morning and having a cup of coffee. You know, it's just something that we do. And when that's not there anymore, it throws us off. So you're dealing with that and the fact that you're, you know, wanting to drink in that moment. But like I said, you know, I wanted to talk about this today because, you know, once again, we get placed in these positions to make these decisions all the time throughout the day. And all it takes is that one time, that one decision. And I'm not saying this is going to be for everybody, but it's going to be for the majority of us. And all it takes is that one decision. One time. One drink. One sip. One anything. One puff. One line. One pill. And the next thing you know, you're stuck right back in that cycle all over again. And it just keeps going. And all it took was that one decision. And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, because we'll often, or I know myself, would think back to that moment when I had that, I could have made that decision differently. But I chose to drink. And I keep thinking back to that, or would keep thinking back to that moment. Man, I wish I chose not to get that bottle. I wish I chose not to drink that day. Because I wouldn't be sitting here right now depressed, sitting at my back porch drunk at 11 o'clock in the morning, knowing that my day is completely ruined. Ruined. I would have all these plans on my days off of things I wanted to accomplish, things I wanted to get done, things I had promised my wife I was going to do for her. And there I was at 11 o'clock in the morning, wasted. And I mean drunk. I would walk outside to smoke my first cigarette of the day, you know, after I caught a really heavy buzz. And like I said, at that point, I was drunk. And there I was at 11 o'clock in the morning going, how did I get here? And I would think back to that moment when I had that decision to make. And I chose to drink. So for today, guys, let's not drink today. If you're on your way home from work watching this or listening to this right now, don't get a bottle. Just go home. Whatever that decision is that you get placed with, just decide to stay sober and just keep moving forward. I can promise you this, that if you decide to stop and get that bottle, or you decide to make that drink and drink it, you're going to regret it. I can promise you that. Tomorrow when you wake up, you're going to regret the fact that you drank today. Just stay sober. You won't have any regrets. Your life can go on, and you can actually be living your best life. Because being sober truly is your best life. You can live to your full potential. You're not waking up every morning hungover, dragging yourself out of the bed, feeling like you got hit by a truck last night. Like I said, let's stay sober today. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. I really do appreciate it. And until tomorrow, I will see you all then. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I love you guys so much. Bye-bye.